Well, hello, hello, hello. You are listening to the No Brainers Empowering Possibilities show. These are invitations to ahas, a little bit of science, some fresh perspectives, a dash of behavioral psychology, some easy skills that you can try now, even today, and a whole lot of creative fun. So if lovely enough is on your radar, my friend, you are at the right show. I'm Marsh. I'm author of the teen and the parent empowerment curriculum called Level Up. And you are listening to episode number 45, Sharp Focus Your Lens. Now, if you had a chance to tune in last week, we talked about change your lens. And I gave the analogy of there's so many different lenses that a camera can have, but the different lenses that you use depends on what you want to see when you look through the camera. So for example, there's the long distance lenses, so you can see far in the distance, or there's those macro lenses, where you can evaluate and see even the minutest details of something under the lens. So there are many different reasons why we'd have different lenses for a photographer, because they want to be able to determine the result or the perspective of what you will see based on what lens that they use. So if you listen back to number 44, change your lens, I gave different analogies, and there's the Roseanne Marsh stinky fish analogy that's very useful to understand. So take a quick listen to that one, because it really is a springboard for what we're talking about today, but this one also stands alone. You know, about a year ago, I was flying back from Costa Rica, and as I looked out over this country for the second or third time that I had flown in there, I noticed just how really, truly beautiful it is, with these rolling hills and the patches of brilliant green, and then lush jungle trees that really surrounded these very tight metropolitan tall buildings. But then there'd be these areas of individual homes that had these multicolor roofs, just absolutely breathtaking. And from a bird's eye view, there was a lot to take in, but my eye was all of a sudden caught by this giant clamshell looking thing. At first, I couldn't tell if it was a building. What was it? And finally, I found out it was their beautiful soccer stadium. And because my eye focused on it for a long time, there may have been all these other beautiful things, but I was literally focused and riveted on this absolutely breathtaking architectural piece that they had created. So we are creatures of focus. Even though our subconscious is drinking in the ambiance around us and it's recording everything in present tense, in our conscious mind, we are, however, when we focus from one thing to the next, there is a moment when the brain has to shift when it starts focusing from one thing to another. But as we discussed last episode, we get to choose what we focus on. Even if something has caught our attention, we don't have to stay there. So not only are we creatures of focus, but we are creatures of freedom. And what I mean by that is we can select where our focus goes, and where our focus goes is where our energy flows. And as we spend time with things, as we're exposed to things, if we give space to things within our own thinking even, it is absolutely what we become. So truly the freedom is in choosing what we're focusing on and having the freedom to become what we choose because of where we focus. So last episode, I told you I wanted to level up in changing your lens. So not only choosing to see the good things in life, but now I want to take that to another level. Once we've established that foundation of being selective about what we expose ourselves to or where we focus. So today we want to sharp focus our lens. Now I want you to remember back on the last time that you used a pair of binoculars. And honestly, they're a little bit confusing for me sometimes. I'm like, am I supposed to close one eye to get this to work? But remember, as you use binoculars, you're trying to see something that feels like it's out in the far distances. As you use that little dial in between the eyes, all of a sudden, what was in the distance becomes sharp and close up. And it's amazing how far out you can see things. And it's as if you could just reach out and touch them. They feel like they're that close and within your grasp. Yet when you lower the binoculars, it's clear that they're out in the distance. But we can use that analogy on ourselves because there are things that we want to achieve or something we want to become or a virtue or an attribute we want to have. And we think it's just too far out there in the distance. Yet there is a tool that we can use to help us focus our lens on those things that we truly want, on those things that we love, on those places we want to go, on the people we want to have an effect on, the ideas we want to bring forth. Now, Level Up Empowering Possibilities, the program that I developed to teach leaders and parents and facilitators how to influence not only their own life, but the life of teens around them. There are adult classes that can be taught, and there are teen classes that can be taught. But they always come with these foundational skills, ways that we can help manage our thoughts, change our moods, direct our actions, and ultimately determine the direction that we will go in life instead of allowing life to manipulate or manage or use an agenda on us so that we end up in a place that isn't congruent with the skills and magnificence of who we really are. So it's all through the science of the body and the mind, but it's done in a really interactive way. But I want to teach you a level up on episode number 44 and go beyond just looking for the bright side or the good things or the blessings or the gratitude, which are critical skills, don't get me wrong. But there are things that we can do to level up on that will help us pull those things that may feel like they're in the distance and bring them into our life today. Now, when you learn this skill today, you can utilize it right away. And you may even by the end of the day go, oh my gosh, it's already working. It is that simple and that effective. So let's do this. But it is based on science of the body and the mind. So we're going to go into the brain into one of my favorite places, and that's the reticular activating system. And that's if you put your fingers in the back of your skull and just above the nook, it's down there towards the center. And what that thing does, it acts as a filter for all the information that comes in. What do you mean by that? It helps you identify in all the cacophony of information that comes at you, those things that really are important to you. Let's say, for example, you're in this really big room and somebody across the room shouts your name. You turn immediately towards that nose, even though there's been all this distraction, all this noise, and all these different things happening. You can recognize your name above all of that noise. Now, why is that? Because your reticular activating system knows how important your name is to you, can absolutely recognize it, even in a very busy, noisy room. Let's give the analogy to something that we understand, like a computer. Have you ever searched on the internet a product out of curiosity, and then all of a sudden ads for that start coming up on all of your other social media platforms? And you're like, wait, why am I being barraged now with all of these? Well, the algorithm recognized that because you have searched that, it must be really important to you. So now it's bringing it right there to you. It's feeding that to you. Well, in a way, the reticular activating system is a little bit similar to that, because once you tell it what's important to you, what you're looking for, it's going to help you find evidence of those things or opportunities. Now, that could be a double-edged sword, quite literally, because whatever you're searching for is what you'll find. So let's say I'm looking to see how people have wronged me today. Well, the reticular activating system is just going to take orders, and it's going to not be your moral compass. It's not going to say, well, that's kind of a crazy thing to be looking for. It's going to say, okay, if that's what we're looking for today, they'll say, oh, look, that person just butt in line again. And oh, that person just disrespected you. And did that person scowl at you? And so we have to be really careful about what we're telling our brain is really important to us. So let me give you an example. I have many goals and desires and attributes and descriptions of the person I truly want to be. So one day when I'm dead and gone, if my name comes up, these are some things that I'm hoping people will attribute to me only because of evidence of the way I live, the way I treat other people, the things I've done, and the things that I have stood for. So one of the attributes I want to espouse is being kind to people. So I had a mother and a father who were always kind to others, no matter the circumstances. So I did have good role models in that respect. So I have told my reticular activating system that I want to see kindness in life. I want to see examples of kindness, and I want to be able to be in a situation where I can be kind to others. So one particular day, as I had reminded myself that today I wanted to be kind to others and see kindness, I went to the grocery store, and oh my goodness, it was as if a play was being acted out for me. Before I even got into the grocery store, right away, someone was unloading their cart and someone said, "Hey, do you want me to take that back up to the store for you?" And the lady that was emptying it said, "Oh, thank you. I appreciate that." And as I entered to get a cart, the person in front of me pulled one out and gave it to me instead of taking it for them. And I thanked them. And in the vegetable department, someone was asking the vegetable stalker for some information on some vegetables. And instead of just working away, he turned around, faced that person, and listened to them and said, "Gosh, I don't know, but let me run to the back and I'm going to go through a couple boxes to see if I can find that for you." That person was absolutely elated. There was lots of dodging carts, lots of "excuse me," and even an older gentleman and I kept moving our carts the same direction. And we started laughing. He said, "Shall we dance?" And seriously, I felt like I was in a kind of movie with all the actors living out the parts of kindness. There were lots of "pardon me" and "you go first." And honestly, I think we needed to have this amazing theme music going on because it was like everyone was on a kindness pill. But what it was is my brain was picking up on the gratitude, the kindness, the thoughtful, appreciative words, and things that were happening around me. It was amazing. Now, I could probably guarantee you that if someone else had on their list, "I want to see how rude people are," and they were taking the same shopping venture on the same day in the same store that I was, they'd probably found an experience that evidenced what they were shopping for. And that was rude, inconsiderate people. We find what we're looking for. So we have to be careful what we're looking for because our brain will help us find it. Now expand that to a couple that was in front of me, a married couple. They were talking to me and he put his arm around her shoulder. And as she was talking, she was referring to him and giving him some compliments, and he was squeezing her arm. And I was seeing evidence of kindness between this married couple. So it was giving me ideas of what that action of kindness actually looks like. So that's just a simplistic view of, I wanted to see kindness that day. But let's say that you have a desire to be involved with philanthropic groups that do big things around the world, that you want to be Mother Teresa of your time and someone who espouses a care that she had for the impoverished and those that are underprivileged or those who need help and representation. Or maybe your goal is to get an apprenticeship with a marketing firm. Or maybe your focus is on healthy meal preparation and healthy eating and exercise for you and your family. Or maybe you want to be a legal mediator or real estate guru. Think about what your long-term or short-term goal is that you want to create, and ultimately who you want to become. And now let's use your brain to help you do that. We can't become or arrive at a destination that hasn't been defined. What is your focus of your goal of what you want to achieve? Or more importantly, who is that person that you want to become that does these things that you want to do? Now you get that? This is the person we're identifying, the attributes that they have. So here's your sharp focus, your lens skill tips. And I'm going to give you 3. And these are so easy. You're going to be able to do this right after you get done listening to this podcast. And it's going to jumpstart your life in the most amazing ways. So the first one is, I want you to define that person that you're wanting to be. Now, I want you to think beyond, I want to be rich and famous. No, 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 no. Think about the attributes of a person. What are they like? Who do they associate with? What places do they go? What groups do they affiliate themselves with? Even down to how do they dress? How do they speak? What virtues and attributes do they have? And what is their schedule like? What do they make sure they do every single day? And what would it feel like to be them every day? What would it feel like to be them every single day? So you've got that definition. That's number one. Write down that person. Number two, now write all this out in the form of affirmations, as if you already espouse those. You are already those things out. I am this. I am that. I do this. I frequent this. I practice this. I whatever. And then record that on your phone and take it with you. Play this or listen to it morning and night. Now, why in the morning? The morning, because just like when I want to see kindness, I want to remind my brain as we go out into the world what we're looking for. Because opportunities will come, or your brain will find conversations or an ad or certain things that will be attributed to what it is that you are trying to achieve. Why? Because we're reminding the brain to work for you, and for you to step into these attributes. If my goal is to become a respected and trusted leader in my company, well, berating someone who dropped the ball, that's not in the scope of being a trusted and respected leader. But reminding me, refocusing myself, then I'll be able to identify, oh, wow, that was outside my scope. I did that. I can go and ask for forgiveness or repair that. It's that double check every day as I'm becoming more and more that person that I want to be. Now at night, that's a no-brainer. You've heard the marital advice that is, don't go to bed mad. It's because your brain will stew on whatever it is, the last thing you're thinking about. So if you go to bed mad, you'll probably end up more mad in the morning. But imagine if it is your I ams and who you are and what you want to espouse. Your brain is going to ruminate on that. It's going to literally simmer in that. And different ideas may come up, etc. It's amazing what our brains can do for us when we put them to work at night. So that's the second one. The first one, define who that person is, write them down as I ams, and look at them morning and night. The more frequently you look at them, the more we're reminding the brain, right? The third one, be aware of things that catch your attention. There might be conversations that have to do with you becoming. There could be an ad. There could be classes or lectures that are happening, schooling that could happen. When something hits your radar, pay attention to it, because remember, the reticular activating system is doing its part to help you catch anything that's related to it. But miracles don't happen without us reacting to opportunities. We have to take action. And sometimes we may try something. It may not be perfect, but it might be just that next step in something. But it could be that sometimes we don't know what something is until we know what something isn't. In other words, sometimes we have to take the wrong step to know what the right step is. So those three were: define who that person is, what they're like, what they do, and put that into I am statements. And then listen to those morning and night. And then third, be aware of things that catch your attention. Your brain is working for you. Allow it to work for you, but then you've got to follow through. We have to follow through. Hey, life is busy. Most of us work, whether it is raising children or work and raising children or traveling. Maybe you are living out your dream and you're planning your next dream. But this is only minutes a day that we can invest in that view that we see through the binocular that seems like it's so far away. But by utilizing the brain, we can bring that sharp focus in closer to where we can start touching it and living it on a daily basis. It isn't just planning a list of words. It's stepping into the feeling of what it would feel like to be that person living that and creating things in that particular way. So if you haven't had a chance to write down your dream or your desire, do it right now in the notes of your phone, or record your voice, just letting go and creating a vision of that becoming of your heart. Seriously, do it now. 5 minutes is all you need. Play it day and night. Move into your own musical everyday with the actors and the actresses living out what your focus is, just like my experience was in the grocery store. When we sharp focus our lens, you can start seeing miracles at the end of the day. I'm serious. Look for them, expect them, create them. So what have you learned today about your own particular focus? What would you like to add to your life? We are the creators, and it's up to us to create what we want to become. So I invite you to create that list and sharp focus your lens. Tally ho, my friends. We will see you next week. Happy creating.